All right, guys, welcome to another exciting episode of the Left Side View. Today, we are going to talk about wrestling. So we're going to talk about all the wrestling companies and what's going on in the world of wrestling today. So, Amitabh, how's it going?
All good, Rahul. Hi, guys. After our first episode on the wrestling business in totality, we have thought of starting a weekly episode on wrestling, and we'll try and cover all the major storylines or whatever is new in the world of wrestling. So, let's start. We start off with WWE, and quite frankly, there's just one storyline worth following right now. That is Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. Now, they were supposed to meet on the day one pay-per-view, and Roman was not able to compete because of contracting COVID. So Brock Lesnar was instead included in the Raw Championship match, which he won, surprise, surprise. And this week on Raw, he seemed to be aligned with his old manager, Paul Heyman, once again. Um, at the end of Raw, when the correspondent asked him, "Do you have any message for Roman?" He said, "See you on SmackDown." And they met on SmackDown, and yeah, again, those war of words escalated and stuff. And the manager was asked to name his number one contender for the SmackDown title. And in the finals in Rome, what's his name?
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins. Yeah, Seth Rollins appeared, and that was it. Now we don't know whether he'll be named as the number one contender for the Royal Rumble title match and stuff like that. So again, a good storyline that WWE has on its hands. The Joker in the pack right now, I still think is Paul Heyman. Not really sure on which team will he be. Rahul, your views on this feud?
I think yeah, that's how the WWE is playing it. That on Raw, when Paul Heyman is with Brock Lesnar, then he seems to be with Brock Lesnar. When he was with Roman Reigns, then he acts like he is his special counsel. But now, when both of them are against each other, then that's where WWE are playing. That his loyalties, there's that he's not really sure where his loyalties lie. He doesn't really want Brock Lesnar to beat Roman Reigns, and he also doesn't want Roman Reigns to beat Brock Lesnar, which is how that uh, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman got into a war of words, which is when Roman Reigns took advantage and hit him with a Superman punch. Um, so yes, I think they will continue to play with this, and I think that's going to be the payoff, or should be the payoff. Maybe eventually Paul Heyman chooses one person and sticks to that one person. Either he stays as Brock Lesnar's advocate, or he continues, or he chooses to be Roman Reigns' special counsel. My money is, I mean, to be honest, I want him to be with Brock Lesnar, but knowing WWE, I think maybe they'll choose the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, the smart money should be that Heyman will side with Lesnar, but the chances are whomever he sides with, that person is going to win the feud. So let's see. The only thing I think about this feud is we've been hearing for over a year now that at least in this WrestleMania, Reigns versus Rock was on the cards. But I think with the way things are going, this is the match that they will use to headline the event. So maybe that is put off for another year, right?
Yeah, yeah. Plus, I saw, I was reading on the internet as well that it is actually official in a way. It is going to be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins in the Royal Rumble match for Roman Reigns' championship. Um, I think again, it's like Roman Reigns has actually defeated everyone on SmackDown. He's managed to beat Daniel Bryan so many times. He's managed to beat Edge as well. And now that Brock Lesnar is actually the champion on Raw, there's actually no one credible left on SmackDown to challenge him. So that's another reason why they have to call someone from Raw. They have to call Seth Rollins, his former Shield brethren, to challenge him. So let's see.
Yeah, maybe that will be another squash match or one of the matches where Roman cheats his way
Again,
to win. Yeah,
something that we've come to expect from WWE.
yeah, yeah. Anything else from WWE that you'd like to talk about, Rahul?
Yes, I think they released some of the participants of the coming Royal Rumble women's match, and a lot of the surprises that should have been surprises are not surprises anymore. Uh, Former divas like uh, the Bella Twins, Summer Rae, even someone like Kelly Kelly, someone like Lita, they're all going to participate. And another big surprise is the current Impact Wrestling Knockout champion Mickey James. She's also going to compete in this year's Royal Rumble. So, in a way, the forbidden door has actually opened with WWE. It always, opened. It has already opened for AEW and remained open, but something that we didn't really expect to see has actually happened in a way with WWE as well. That even they are now actively looking to work with another promotion. So let's see how that works out and how they treat someone who's not a WWE employee.
Yeah, another thing, Charlotte Flair on SmackDown said that she will also participate. Now she is the SmackDown Divas champion. So how does that work out, Rahul?
She's probably going to say that if she I mean, obviously she's under the impression that she's going to compete and she's going to win that match, and then she's going to choose uh, her opponent herself. So obviously the idea is that if she wins, then she would like to choose someone who's a weak contender. But we all know that that's not really how it works, or at least that's not good booking. So when it comes to booking, I'm not really sure what WWE will do. But yes, unlike their men's division, the women's division is something that is stacked. So at least they do have some credible contenders. And like I said, there are so many new faces, and with Royal Rumble, there are so many new faces, and all always people who are returning from injuries. Maybe someone that's a new signing, or someone like Lita or any of these wrestlers uh, who will compete for a pop. So let's see. Uh, Anyone can win because last year it was Bianca Belair. So I think she was competing in it for the first time and she won it in her first go. So let's see how it is. I think I like the whole concept. So it's a good concept and a good match. Hopefully, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, moving on. Unfortunately, WWE does not have a lot of great storylines right now. Let's move to the best thing in professional wrestling that we have today, AEW. Now, there was a title match at Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara, and Cody was not again able to perform in the match due to COVID issues. And his elder brother, Dustin Rhodes, he stepped in and Sammy won the match. Now he's supposed to be the interim champion for now.
Hmm.
And as and when Cody comes back, the two will have a fight for the title. It was a nice match, yes. Again, a long list of nice matches that AEW has provided to us. And can't really wait for the next chapter of this feud. Rahul?
On top of that, yeah. So as soon as Sammy Guevara won that match, Daniel Garcia, who had aligned himself to 2.0 earlier and was already on a collision course with Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho, has as soon as Sammy Guevara won that match, Daniel Garcia charged to the ring, and it does seem like he has put himself as the first contender, for the TNT Interim Championship. So I think maybe before the Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes match takes place, I think we're probably going to see Sammy Guevara defend his TNT title against Daniel Garcia, which is again going to be a cracker of a match, in my opinion.
Yeah, in another one of the storylines that AEW has been setting up beautifully, MGF against CM Punk. MGF had vowed that he would remain unbeaten in 2022, and lo and behold, in the first match, CM Punk manages to uh, disqualify the opponent and makes him win the match. Um, Now, one of the best things about this feud is it is very serious to the core. These people are like fighting for their careers and stuff. But at the same time, it is so humorous, right? It reminds us of the feuds that Kurt Angle or Chris Jericho used to engage at the start of this millennium. right? Obviously, they are taking pot shots at each other, but they try and spice it up with those one-liners or um, with insinuations of something that has happened in their past, obviously relating to WWE and stuff like that. So yeah, a war of word ensued, and that's it for this week. Let's see what we have in store for next week between these two. Rahul?
Yes, I think with AEW we can also talk about the match that we saw, the part two of Hangman Adam Page, AEW World Champion Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson. So the first match ended in a 60-minute time limit draw. So for this match, AEW had made sure that even if it ends in time limit draw, they had three judges ringside: Jerry Lynn, I think Mark Henry, and Paul White, formerly known as Big Show. But it didn't really come to that. Hangman won this match decisively, and I think it made a lot of sense as well. As I mean, it would make no sense for Hangman to lose his title in just his second defense. And we've seen that AEW, they don't really pull the trigger too soon on a champion. I think we're probably going to see Hangman stay the champion for a long time, which is what has happened in the past as well. I think Kenny Omega stayed the champion for so long. John Moxley was the champion for so long. Chris Jericho was there for so long. I think he's the fourth AEW World Champion now, Hangman Page. So yes, even he's going to enjoy, in my opinion, long reign.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, see, Bryan Danielson's time will come, but right now this is Hangman Page's time. Had they done anything apart from what they did, it would have made Hangman look very weak.
Yeah.
And this is like a show of confidence by the company to the talent. And I think they'll milk this storyline for a bit longer. This is definitely not the end. We just have two matches now. Um, because Bryan Danielson, once he came to AEW, he straight away was set up for the title match. And now, with two closely contested fights, uh, I think there's a third fight in store. I don't know when, but let's see how they develop the
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
We'll wait for this Wednesday shows.
Uh,
Um,
Actually,
Rahul.
sorry. I think there's one more thing that we need to talk about when it comes to AEW. So there was a change of titles in the tag team division. It was the Lucha Brothers versus uh, Jurassic Express, and in that match, Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus, they actually managed to get the better of Lucha Brothers, and they're now the new AEW Tag Team Champions. And as soon as that happened, all the other tag team divisions came out, to in a way make sure to let them know that they have their eyes on the title. Another thing to talk about is the injury that Ray Phoenix suffered. So we wish him a speedy recovery. And yeah, a great match. But yes, I think their tag team division, like all the other divisions that they have, is stacked. So yeah, maybe if there's anything else that you want to talk about here.
Yeah, just one thing that yeah, we wish Refinit's a speedy recovery. You know that I absolutely adore him and love him as a talent. So yeah, that will soon man. Um, Coming back to Impact Wrestling, anything worth discussing there out?
Well, yes. So we had the Hard to Kill pay per view today. So a couple of matches I think we can talk about. One was a world title match. Moose versus Morrissey versus Matt Cardona. In the end, I think they made the right decision, which is let Moose retain the title, because eventually the idea is to do Moose versus Josh Alexander again. But Josh Alexander as the the face the face who is chasing the title, like the underdog that he is. He won the title fair and square, but then Moose, came out and demolished him in front of his family, and then won that title after Josh Alexander already had a match. So, and then again, when he wanted to go back to reclaiming his title, then someone like Minoru Suzuki came out. He then had to beat Minoru Suzuki. Once he was done with Minoru Suzuki, then Jonah Rock, formerly known as Bronson Reed of NXT, came out. So now the second match that we can talk about is Josh Alexander versus Jonah Rock. Now, yes, finally, uh, Josh Alexander managed to beat Jonah Rock as well. So let's see if now he can actually go and have a match with Moose, or Impact Wrestling will uh, have him, first face off against someone else. But yes, I think now the eventual match that we all want to see is Josh Alexander versus Moose for the Impact World Title, and eventually see Josh Alexander win it and enjoy a long title reign. But yeah, I think those are the uh, two important storylines in Impact Wrestling.
Okay, okay. Anything else from New Japan or Ring of Honor maybe that you'd like to share out?
Yes, so we had the Wrestle Kingdom, the January 4th, January 5th, and today, January 8th. So this time, it was for the first time New Japan's version of WrestleMania. Wrestle Kingdom went on for 3 nights, and on the third night was supposed to be New Japan versus Pro Wrestling Noah talents. So in a way, an invasion angle was played out. But yes, we can talk about the world title match, which was Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. We have seen this match before, but I don't think we've seen this match before for the world title. So on night one, uh, Kazuchika Okada actually had to beat uh, Shingo Takagi for the title. I mean, whoever was going to win that match would then take on Will Ospreay for the title. So Kazuchika Okada managed to beat him, and then he took on Will Ospreay on night two of Wrestle Kingdom this year, and he also managed to beat Will Ospreay. So now he is uh, New Japan's world champion, IWGP world champion, and as soon as he managed to beat Will Ospreay, Tatsuya Naito, who had managed to beat Jeff Cobb earlier that night, he came out to challenge him. So it does look like uh, Kazuchika Okada's first title defense is going to be against Tatsuya Naito. Now, this is what we discussed last time out as well, that uh, I'm not saying that these matches are bad matches. Obviously, Tatsuya Naito versus Kazuchika Okada is going to be a great match. But that's the thing. It's a match that we have seen so many times before, which is why a company like New Japan needs the forbidden door to stay open. Because, for instance, if we see Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega now, even though we've seen that match before, but now there is more intrigue because now it's not just two New Japan performers. It's one is a New Japan performer and one is an AEW performer. Or if we see someone like, in fact, Kazuchika Okada had an interview with Sports Illustrated wherein he was asked about his dream opponents, and he mentioned two current AEW performers, one Brian Danielson and the other CM Punk. CM Punk even tweeted his address, "Come see me," and this is my address. So I mean, we have seen so many guys, Minoru Suzuki, Tomohiro Ishii, Rocky Romero of the New Japan turn up in AEW, but the big one that we're actually waiting to see, that we're dying to see, is Kazuchika Okada step into the forbidden door and challenge someone like Kenny Omega, CM Punk, or Brian Danielson. And I I I have a feeling that it's going to happen. Let's see.
Yeah, yeah, me too, me too. I think AEW will manage to pull that off as well. I think that brings us to the end of all the wrestling action that happened this week. So now in wrestling, there's no transfer window like in football, and there's always talent who are touted to change promotions. Now with Samoa Joe being released from WWE again, now such a travesty of justice. I mean, they had him, they did not know how to use him, they let him go. For some reason, they signed him again, and then again, now it has come to this. Um, and Bray Wyatt, he hasn't joined any promotion till now. How do you see these two guys going about their careers from here?
Okay, so first of all, I know everything is a business, that you sign someone, you release someone, but on a human level, it's just so disheartening. I mean, WWE released Samoa Joe last year, and then he could have joined AEW, he could have gone to any other wrestling company, but maybe WWE convinced him, Triple H convinced him, that to re-sign with WWE, and he will be given a prominent role. And somehow he got, he was able to be, they were able to manipulate him, and he re-signed with WWE, ended up in NXT, even became the NXT champion after defeating Karrion Kross, who has already been released. And then he got injured, had to relinquish his title, but we saw that he had actually started playing an active role behind the scenes in the performance center in NXT. But now he has again been released after 4 or 5 months, just after re-signing. I mean, it's not just about Samoa Joe. Someone like William Regal, who had been there from the very start in NXT, was released. And I think it's all about releasing guys who were once or still are very close to Triple H. So it's about taking control away from Triple H. That's what's happened.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, this is what I read. It is a way of McMahon to clip Triple H's feathers.
yeah,
And I don't know, given his health concerns and all that, I don't know how much power he has to begin with. But even before leaving this company, I think McMahon is doing everything within his power to destroy the whole empire that he built.
yeah. And to answer your second question, so from what I read, Bray Wyatt, now known as William Rotunda, I think he's probably doing a Hollywood movie. But other than that, I did read, that Tony Khan has actually teased one signing, one big signing. Now, chances are that that signing is actually going to be Johnny Gargano, because he has mentioned that there's going to be a signing, and the particular AW Dynamite event that he has mentioned, that's actually taking place in Cleveland, which is Johnny Gargano's hometown. So chances are that it's going to be him. But other than that, 3 or 4 big names, that are rumored. One could be Keith Lee, obviously. I think his no compete is already almost up. I think 90 days is up. There's someone like you mentioned, William Rotunda or Bray Wyatt. I mean, obviously Karrion Kross. So there, Braun Strowman, he was released so long ago, still hasn't made an appearance for a major company. I mean, he did appear in the Ring of Honor final battle, but hasn't really signed with anyone. We heard that he was close to signing with Impact, but that also didn't happen. Again, he was on such a mammoth contract with WWE that he doesn't really need the money right now in a way. But yes, there are still so many free agents out in the market, because like I mentioned, all of the releases that WWE made, on top of that, everyone who was associated with Ring of Honor, so even their contracts have been terminated. So there are so many free agents in the market that AEW can sign. I think it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, in my opinion.
Yes, of course. And going back to Samoa Joe, I think in 2017 or 18, when he was actually building ahead of steam and he was about to face Lesnar, he suffered that elbow injury, and I think it never really looked up from there on. It has all been downhill. So yeah, all the best to these wrestlers. And yeah, I guess with that we come to the end of this podcast, guys. We'll be back again next Sunday with our rather professional wrestling podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Take care. Bye bye.